Yes, I hate that I didn't get to reminisce with our good friend, Mr. Farage. But nevertheless, um, it's interesting that we're sitting here and we're talking about the so-called threats to the First Amendment when the biggest threat to free speech right now is the old guy that is sitting over in the Oval. Now, Mr. Faraj and I met over a month ago, and he has made it a brand of being this free speech warrior.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, share, and stick around for more simple and dramatic retellings of big political and celebrity moments.
And one of the things that I wanted to recap was the fact that he literally tried to shut down my ranking member as he was engaging in his own free speech. It seems like it's more so free speech for me, but not for thee, a lot of times with certain people. Um, and it's sad that he had to run and have lunch with Trump or to go raise some money for his four-member party. So, Mr. Price, you get to be the lucky one to help me figure out what exactly free speech advocates believe. It's good to see you again. You tell me whether these government actions support free speech or suppress it. Let's call it free speech or federal suppression. Fining or defending or defunding news outlets or companies because they don't share a particular political message.
I'm not entirely sure what context you're referring to. I'd need a little bit more information.
So, long story short, if they decide that they are going to fine or defund any news outlet simply because it doesn't necessarily go far left or far right, do you think that that is a violation of free speech?
You won't believe the heated exchange that happened in this meeting. It started off calm, but quickly turned into a serious reality check. Let's break it down step by step.
Well, I'm not entirely sure how it would connect with, let's say, the area of expertise that I have. I think you may be referring to the PBS controversy. It's probably not something that I would be able to really...
Not necessarily. But let me go to Professor K. Professor K, did you understand my question? Fining or defunding news outlets or companies because they don't share a particular political message.
Yeah, thank you for the question. At the very core of the First Amendment is the prohibition of viewpoint discrimination. And what you described sounds like viewpoint discrimination.
So it definitely sounds like federal suppression. If you require news outlets and companies to have content moderators to ensure their coverage promotes a political ideology or leaning, would that be federal suppression?
Well, that does sound like an interference with a company's content moderation decision.
Banning materials because of their content.
Materials.
Yes. So like books.
Oh, of course. Well, and we've seen this in the range of book bans at libraries across the country.
Absolutely. What about threatening private companies with lawsuits or fines unless they do the government's bidding?
Sounds like pressure would be undue, yes.
So I agree with you. All of these actions are exactly what Trump has done since he's taken office. Make no mistake, Trump is weaponizing his idea of free speech to force folks and companies to become his political puppets to promote his propaganda. Trump and Republicans defunded NPR because they argued it was biased. Trump has removed books discussing racial discrimination at U.S. military academies, including the amazing Maya Angelou's autobiography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. He's tried to strip funding to schools across the country if they don't remove materials that include discussions of racial discrimination or that promote diversity. And in order for the merger between Paramount and Skydance to happen, the FCC chairman and Republican appointed commissioners required Skydance to establish a bias monitor. And in its FCC order noted reports, quote, concerning negative media coverage of the Trump administration. This is to say nothing of Trump pushing television networks to get rid of comedians and talk show hosts who criticize his administration, say like Mr. Colbert. Let's call this what it is. It's Trump weaponizing the idea of free speech to force people, institutions, and companies to be his mouthpieces. This ain't free speech, it's propaganda. Meanwhile, my Republican colleagues are out here having a meltdown over the European bill, one that, by the way, includes provisions to fight child trafficking. You know, it's frustrating because we talk about being fiscally responsible and we talk about free speech. And right now, as we're having these discussions, you know who's trying to shut down members from voting in the way that they want to vote? It's the president, who literally said he would look at anyone who decided that they were going to vote to release the Epstein files as hostile. That sounds like a threat as it relates to all First Amendment protections, in addition to the fact that it's literally contravening our constitutional duty that we swore an oath to, because we don't swear to an orange king. Instead, we have sworn an oath to the Constitution, and we were elected to represent the people that elected us. Thank you so much, and I'll yield.
Part of our visit to Europe, and we appreciate that. Recognized for 5 minutes. Yes. I really wish I had time to chat with our friend, Mr. Farov again. But anyway, it's kind of funny that we're sitting here talking about supposed threats to free speech, when the biggest threat to free speech right now is the old guy sitting in the Oval Office. Mr. Farage and I met over a month ago, and he likes to call himself a free speech warrior. But here's what I want to remind everyone about. He actually tried to stop my ranking member from talking while that person was using their own free speech. It's like free speech for me, but not for you, with people like that. And it's kind of sad that he had to run off to have lunch with Trump or to raise money for his tiny 4-member party. So, Mr. Price, you get to help me today figure out what people who call themselves free speech advocates really believe. Nice to see you again. Now tell me this, do these government actions support free speech or stop it? Let's play a game. Free speech or federal suppression? If the government finds or takes away money from news outlets or companies because they don't agree with a certain political view, is that free speech or suppression? I think I'm not sure what situation you mean. I'd need a little more info. Okay, long story short, if the government punishes a news outlet just because it's not super left or super right, do you think that breaks the idea of free speech? Well, I'm not sure how that fits with my area of expertise. You might be talking about the PBS issue. That's probably not something I can answer well. All right then, let me go to Professor K. Professor K, did you understand my question? I asked about fining or taking money away from news outlets or companies just because they don't share a certain political message. Yes, thank you for the question. At the very center of the First Amendment is the rule that you can't punish people just because of their viewpoint. Okay, and what you're describing sounds exactly like that, viewpoint discrimination. So yes, that sounds like federal suppression. What if the government made news outlets hire content moderators to make sure their coverage supports a certain political side? Would that be suppression? Well, yes, that sounds like the government interfering with what the company decides to post. How about banning materials because of their content? Materials? Yes, like books. Oh, of course. We've seen that with all the book bans in libraries across the country. Absolutely. What about threatening private companies with lawsuits or fines unless they do what the government says? That sounds like unfair pressure. Yes. Okay, I agree with you. All of these things are exactly what Trump has done since he took office. Make no mistake, Trump is using his version of free speech as a weapon to force people and companies to act like his puppets and spread his propaganda. Trump and Republicans took away money from NPR because they said it was biased. Trump removed books about racial discrimination from U.S. military libraries. Even the amazing Maya Angelou's autobiography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. He's tried to take away money from schools across the country if they don't remove materials that talk about racial issues or promote diversity. And for the merger between Paramount and Skydance, the FCC chair and Republican-appointed members made Skydance create a bias monitor and even mentioned negative media coverage about the Trump administration in the FCC order. That's not all. Trump has also pushed TV networks to fire comedians and talk show hosts who make fun of him, like Mr. Colbert. Let's call this what it is. Trump is using the idea of free speech as a weapon to force people, companies, and institutions to say what he wants. That's not free speech. That's propaganda. Meanwhile, my Republican friends here are freaking out over the European bill, even though it includes parts that help fight child trafficking. It's frustrating because we always talk about being financially responsible and about protecting free speech. But right now, while we're having these talks, guess who's trying to stop members from voting how they want? The president. He literally said he would treat anyone who voted to release the Epstein files as hostile. That sounds like a threat against First Amendment rights, and it goes against our constitutional duty, the one we swore an oath to uphold, because we didn't swear loyalty to some orange king. We swore loyalty to the Constitution and to the people who elected us. Thank you so much, and all you.